Joining me live for more on this, Assistant Treasurer Stephen Jones. Thank you for standing by. We've had a bit go on this hour, so we're coming a little bit late to you, so we appreciate your patience. It's a pretty big campaign with a broad group, small business, big business, farmers, miners. Does it give you pause for thought that if so many people think this is a terrible idea, you might need to look more carefully at it?
Oh, look, we're looking carefully at this, but look, let's not lose track of what we're attempting to do here and what we took to the last election and believe we've got a mandate to do. And that is to ensure that we remove the anomaly, the loophole where you could have two workers, whether they're two workers in a mine or two workers in an office or a call centre, doing exactly the same job. One of them might be covered by an award or an enterprise agreement. The other one, a labour hire worker. They could have been there 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And they're getting vastly different pay. More often than not, the labour hire worker will be classified as a casual. They'll be getting vastly different wages and conditions. From the viewpoint of the workers in that workplace, they are doing the same job. They rely on each other. They have to trust each other. It's not fair that they're getting vastly different wages and conditions. That's the loophole we're trying to shut down.
It sounds simple. Business groups are saying it can get more complex. For example, someone might have the same job title, so the same job, but have very different experience or qualifications. Will legislation reflect that complexity? And in that situation, you could have people on different wages?
Look, we'll work through the detail, and I think you'll find it's been the hallmark of this government that we consult deeply and meaningfully over all of the changes, including the industrial relations changes. We'll consult with industry. I think they'd be better served by putting their money into a phone call rather than an advertising campaign.
Well, they say they're trying to consult and get answers, and that's why they're launching this, because they're not getting them.
Sorry, Tom, again?
Sorry, I'm just saying that what they've said today is they've tried the consultation path. They're not getting much joy in terms of answers, so this is why they're going down this path.
Well, there's a consultation process that's on foot at the moment, and of course we'll listen to the reasonable concerns of industry. But here's the issue that I think all Australians in every workplace understand because they've experienced it. And I have in my own area. I see miners in the coal mines in the hills behind me. They'll have a small group of workers who've been working there for many, many years. They'll have another group of workers employed by a labour hire company, often working there for longer than the permanent employees. They're getting significantly less. Nobody can argue that that's a temporary arrangement. Nobody can argue that they're just dealing with short-term fluctuations in workload. It's a business design strategy, and it's one that is built on two classes of workers doing the same work and being paid differently, and we don't think that's very reasonable.
Well, we'll wait for the detail. It's coming. We'll perhaps debate it then. I wanted to ask you as well about the WA GST deal. It's getting a bit of attention. WA budget in pretty good shape, whereas not many others are. It's a deal done by the previous government. So this is where you can say, dodgy deal, we'll fix it. It was meant to cost about $300 million at the moment, in any given year. Next year, it's going to cost $5.6 billion. Is that still affordable in a very tight federal budget?
The Prime Minister's made it quite clear that he'll be honouring the agreements and there'll be no change to those arrangements.
Do you have a view on it though? I mean, the floor is 70%, it's set to go to 75%, so WA is going to get an even more lucrative deal. New South Wales Vic, so this includes your state, the no worse off deal ends in 2026. Are you comfortable with that as a New South Wales MP?
Well, obviously, as a federal MP, I'm responsible for managing and the Assistant Treasurer, I'm responsible for the federal affairs of the government, and as a part of the ERC, managing the affairs of the federal budget. We'll deal in good faith with all of the states and the state governments and cognizant of the circumstances that they find themselves in. And I think we've made it quite clear that we'll honour the arrangements with Western Australia. There's no intention to change those arrangements.
So that'll get them up to 75. What about the other side, New South Wales and Victoria, the no worse off ending? Is that locked in as well?
Again, we're engaging in consultations with the states about GST and a whole range of other issues which go to state and federal funding arrangements, whether it's housing, whether it's healthcare, in fact, skills right across the board. There's a lot of discussions going on at the moment, and these GST conversations are a part of that as well.
Any desire out there to maybe grow the pie of GST as part of a solution?
Again, that's not on our agenda, Tom. Can't see us wanting to deal with that. Our tax reform agenda for this parliament is all out there. Some pretty modest changes around closing some loopholes in franking credits areas, ensuring we're doing better on the compliance side of things, but most importantly, ensuring that multinationals are paying their fair share. They're the propositions we're taking around the revenue agenda, and ensuring that whenever there's new savings coming in, that we're banking that and returning it to the bottom line, which is why 87% of the new revenue that's come in over the last two budgets has been diverted to paying down the previous government's debt, and it's working.
I know you've got a big interest in housing. What have you made of the Greens? They are willing to deal on this housing fund Labor has put up, but the one thing they're not walking back on is a rent freeze. Is that something that has any credibility or possibility of being included?
Look, the deal on the table is the bill before the Senate to provide for $10 billion, a future fund for social and affordable housing. It's a part of a four-part plan that the government has in place, which includes increasing the amount of spending we're putting into place right across the board and in the housing portfolio. What it's not reasonable for the Greens or other parties to do is to ask the government to completely reformulate its budgeting arrangements and completely reformulate its funding arrangements in the housing or any other area when the ink is not even dry on the budget being introduced into the parliament. We want to work with them. We want to work with all parties in ensuring we can get this housing deal through the Senate.
What about the rent freeze aspect?
But in the area of rent freeze,
go on.
This is traditionally an area of state government responsibility, and if we're in a situation where on every area of public policy, the Commonwealth government just completely comes in and covers the field, state governments will vacate the field and they won't live up to their responsibility, and we don't think that's reasonable. I mean, the area of housing, both state and Commonwealth have got areas of responsibility. We've made a commitment. We've got an accord in place where we're hoping to work with states to improve housing supply. I think that's where our best efforts are spent. If state governments want to look at the area of rental freezes or other initiatives, I think the Greens are better off having those issues raised through their state members of parliament and state parliament.
Assistant Treasurer Stephen Jones, thanks for your time.
Good to be with you.